And greetings. Got a blurb here for you about this little keyboard add-on from the mid-80s. This is a Keypatch AT by Genest Technologies. I'm just going to say it like that. Maybe it's said some other way. Genest? Doesn't matter. Genest made a whole bunch of these deals back in the mid-80s. I think this one is from 1985. And yeah, this was a recent-ish donation to LGR. Just something I'd never heard of. And well, now I have. And I've been doing some research on it and haven't found a whole lot about it. At least this specific one, the AT one. This is meant for the IBM AT, as you might expect. Where the idea is you got this little pass-through right here. So you plug that into your AT Model F, really, the Model F keyboard that came with the earlier versions of the IBM AT. And then it'll add this functionality as like a separate thing here, so you don't have to like press numlock or search around for different things, and it just sort of breaks this out and puts it onto off to the side or on top of. As you can see from some of these old ads I did find for some of the other key patches, they made a number of these throughout the mid to late 80s, and they all did pretty much the same thing. They all cost about $90 US at the time, so not cheap. I mean, the inflation price, I don't know what it is with inflation. I'll put it up on screen here, but this was not a cheap little add-on considering it's all plastic. Yeah, it's just a pass-through that gives you these keys on their own instead of having to search around for them in kind of weird locations on the Model F keyboards. And yeah, dedicated arrow keys, which you didn't get at all on an AT Model F. So we're going to get one of those, plug this in there, and just, see how it works. I mean, I'm assuming it's pretty self-explanatory, but still, it's neat, I think. And I have actually gone ahead and taken this apart in case you're interested in seeing what it looks like inside, because I was, after reading just a little bit about it in some of the old ads and write-ups about the other key patches, they were really proud of their microprocessor-controlled thing that they'd made. It does indeed have a microprocessor in there. It's covered up by a label. I didn't take that off, so I don't know specifically which one it is. Anyway, it's just a little board inside there, and you got some ancient-looking LEDs. Look at those. I think those are lovely. Really reminds me of the LEDs on mid-80s Amiga keyboards as well. Anyway, yeah, let's check it out. The Keypatch AT with the Model F AT keyboard. Crap, I almost forgot too. Check out these switches in there. I don't know exactly what they are. If anybody is more knowledgeable about these types of things, let me know in the comments. I'm curious, because it is an interesting little mechanical switch in there. I mean, it's I didn't expect it to be buckling spring or anything like a Model F, but I am surprised to see that it is a little more substantial. Yeah, let's plug it in and use it. All right, so we've got a lovely IBM personal computer AT here, Model 5170 PC, and a Model F AT keyboard. So this is not the Model M, obviously. The earlier ATs came with this. This AT is actually a later one that did come with a Model F, but I've since gotten this fantastic keyboard, and the overall construction is extremely similar to the original Model F, but honestly, I think a little bit heavier and a little bit chunkier. And this thing is a tank. And of course, some other differences is you have an AT badge right there and light up indicators for your different functions on your keyboard. Numlock, caps lock, scroll lock, all that kind of stuff. Original Model F didn't have that. And of course, the keyboard protocol is different. This uses AT instead of XT, even though they both use the 5-pin DIN connection. But yeah, so we've got the key patch plugged in around back. So this keyboard is plugged in to the key patch, and then the key patch is plugged in directly to the motherboard's keyboard connector. And whenever you hit any of the locks, it will light them up on both of them because they are perfectly in sync with each other, which is pretty cool. It's not exactly the intended usage or, the intended idea of the original key patch, the Keypatch 10 that preceded this. That also had the indicators here, but the original Model F, that didn't have this section on the keyboard. So it made more sense. Like, that was more of a selling point to have it on the key patch. It's like, oh, now you can see your indicators, whereas you couldn't on the Model F. So anyway, but that's for the XT version of this. The AT just carried it over, and you just have duplicate indication lights now, so that's something. Now, normally when you're using one of these Model F keyboards, you have the numpad arrow keys, and then home, page up, page down, and end. Well, that's not going to do anything here. The arrow keys that act as your cursors. And then if you turn on numlock, that turns into numbers. And that's it, right? That's what you could do. However, since we have the key patch, check that out. It works. So I can completely just type in numbers over here, and then I can still move around and do arrows and page up, page down, and home and end and delete. That's so cool. Honestly, this is a great device for, you know, its intended usage. It basically is just turning on numlock, or it's sending like a combination numlock and input from the numpad through the keyboard connector, and you don't have to turn on numlock every time you want to switch between numbers and arrows, which is awesome. I think it has only made sense for so long because, you know, you got the Model M coming out just a couple of years after the original one of these, and then Model M AT here that this is intended for, or sorry, the Model F AT. That was only the default keyboard with this computer for so long. Hence one reason why these keyboards are so uncommon these days. So it's not like it was the ideal device for very long, but for that short period in time, very briefly, this was pretty much the best kind of thing. At least I think so. This is awesome. So let's try out something in terms of a game. I'm just curious. Something you gotta try when you have any kind of input device, right? Especially since it has arrow keys. Now they're not the inverse T, of course, like the Model M had. That's a shame. They could have easily done it in this case, but, you know, this predates the Model M, so. These key mechanisms I also wanted to mention. It's kind of the last thing here, because while they are kind of mechanical, I suppose, I still don't know what kind of switch they are, but, you know, they're more involved than just domes. Yeah, the 286. It tries. What was I saying? The switches. They're not great. They work. And it takes a good bit of pressure to, like, there it moves. There it moves. There it moves. It just doesn't feel great. Especially right up against the fantastic buckling springs of the Model F. Oh my goodness. It's still one of the best keyboards ever made. So yeah, it's highly, highly noticeable up against that. Oh no, Control and Alt are all the way over here. I'm doing like this split thing with my arms like 3 feet apart. 3 fart apart. And then yeah, just got the arrow keys of the key patch going. Works very well, actually. Yeah. They're working a little more reliably than they were earlier. When I was first testing this out, the keys like only worked half the time. I cleaned them. Tends to work a little better now, it seems, anyway. What am I doing? I gotta get all the candy. No, I don't. Screw that. I don't need it. Yeah. Honestly, this is just supremely comfortable in a weird way. Not the strange position that I'm playing in, but just playing with this particular kind of arrow key configuration. I do prefer an actual inverse T thing with all the bottom keys lined up, but these are so close and the sizing is nice and they work decently enough that it's not a problem at all. Now I have no problem either going with numlock and your just basic keys over here. Heck, I grew up playing a lot of games that way because there were just some games that still didn't use the cursor keys at all. They refused, even if you had a keyboard with cursor keys. You had numpad games. They're just... it's a thing you got used to. So it's fine. You know, I'm used to like reaching down with my middle finger to press 2 in order to press down in a lot of games. Not that you really need to in Kane, so that's kind of an awful example of it. But yeah, that is the Keypatch AT. It works perfectly for what it needs to do. I honestly would like a version of this, or like to find one of the versions that did exist of the Keypatch 10, because it makes even more sense for something like an original Model F that doesn't have any indicators, you know, you can get some stuff like that going on. That's just pretty great. And yeah, the only other thing I kind of wish was on here is like an escape key. That would just be handy, I think. I'm not entirely sure, but it's just kind of weird to me that the escape is all the way over on the numpad on these keyboards. So having an escape key over here, and then you could like slide this. Dang cable. You could slide it like over to the, you know, this part of the keyboard, but then of course, then the arrows are in the wrong spot. I don't know. Maybe that's a dumb idea. Whatever. Keypatch AT, it's cool. You can keep playing Commander Key now. Thanks for watching. Time to die.